Hey guys, welcome back to my next video of Bash Shell scripting tutorial for beginners. Now let's get started. Now let's learn how to pass arguments to a Bash script. Type in your script name, give a space, and you can type in your first argument, space, and second argument, and third. This is how you can pass arguments to a Bash script. In Bash script, there are several predefined variables which we can use to call the arguments. The first argument is stored in $1, the second in $2, the third in $3, and so on. Here we are passing these three arguments to our script, and let's try printing it. So echo the first argument, second, and third. Let's save it and run. So as you can see here, all the arguments have been printed. Here we cannot use $0 because it references to your bash script itself. So if we use $0, it will show your script name. Let's try it out. Let's save and run. As you can see here, $0 prints the script name, $1 prints the first argument, $2 prints the second, and so on. Now, let's see how we can pass these arguments into an array and use it. Let's define a variable name array. So here when you type in $, it takes in all the inputs and stores it as an array. I hope you guys are aware of how an array works. So the first element that is inputted will be in the index position 0, the second in the index position 1, and so on. Now let's try printing it also. Let's print the element on the first position. And the third position. Let's save it and run. So as you can see here, the element in the 0th index and the second index have been printed here. So if you want to print all the arguments, you can use let's save and run. So as you can see, this prints all the arguments. Now if you want to print the number of arguments, you can type in echo $hash. This will print the number of arguments that the user has passed. Let's save and run. If you notice here, we are going to pass 3 arguments, 1, 2, and 3. So as you can see, it has successfully printed out the number of arguments. Now let's learn how to use the if statement in Bash. I'll write down the syntax first. If, and the condition will be here. Then statement. Else if the condition is wrong. Then again statement. And at the end of every if block, you have to end it off with a fi. Now I will show you the syntax of the operators. You can pause and take a screenshot. So now let's try out an example. Let's take a variable x which is equal to 10 and y which is equal to 9. Now let's write down a condition. So if x is greater than y. Print x is greater than y. But if the condition fails, then print y is greater than x. Now let's save and run. So as you can see here, the value of x is 10 and the value of y is 9. So when we compare, our condition is true. Once the condition is true, this line is being printed here. Now let's change the values. Let's make y greater than 10. Save and run. So as you can see here, y is greater than x has been printed. So that means what happens here is if it checks the condition, is x greater than 12? No, it's not. So it goes to else and then it prints y is greater than x. Now let's do the same by using the greater than symbol. If you notice here, every time you use the greater than or less than symbol, you have to use double parentheses instead of square brackets. So let's change that. Let's save and run. Let's see what happens if we use square bracket instead of the parenthesis. Let's save and run. So as you can see here, an error is being displayed here. So make sure that your syntax is always right. Let's save and run. If you notice here, the output we got here is x is greater than y. But if you check here, the value of x is 10 and the value of y is 12. That means y is greater than x. So we have got a wrong output here. So always make sure you type in the correct syntax. Now let's use the not equal to operator. Let's save and run. So this checks if x is not equal to y. The condition is true, so the first line is printed. Let's change this to true. Now let's use the equal to operator. Let's run it. Here it checks if x is equal to y, but since x is not equal to y, it goes to else and it prints false here. And by the way, it is not necessary to use else here. It is fine even if you don't use else. As you can see, nothing is printed because the condition we gave is if x is equal to y, then print this. Otherwise, we haven't mentioned what to do in case the condition is false. Now let's change the value of x and y to a string. As you can see in the list here, you can use equal to or equal to, both are the same. So as you can see, A is not equal to B, so it has printed false here. So as you can see here, double equal to and single equal to are the same. So now let's use the greater than operator. So what the greater than or the less than operator does is, it converts the string into its subsequent ASCII values and then compares that and gives us the result. Now let's try running this. If you notice here, the output we got here is true. The ASCII value of lowercase a is 97 and that of b is 98. So is 97 greater than 98? No. So that means it was supposed to print false, but why did it print true? If you notice here, when we are using the less than or greater than operator, we are supposed to use the double square brackets. So always make sure that you enter in the right syntax or else you'll end up having wrong answers. Let's save and run this. So as you can see here, now it's successfully displaying the right answer. Okay, now let's use this to check for empty string. Let's create an empty string. Let's save and run this. Here this checks if the string is empty, and since the string is empty, it prints empty. Now let's try it again. As you can see, this checks if the string length is 0, and since it is not 0, it prints not empty. So thank you for watching my video. Stay tuned for more.